In a small African village surrounded by tall trees and dusty paths, a hardworking man lived a simple and peaceful life with his loving wife. The village was quiet but full of life. Early every morning, the sound of roosters crowing and children laughing filled the air. Small clay huts stood in rows, and smoke from cooking fires slowly rose into the sky as the sun appeared over the horizon. The man was known in the village as someone who worked hard and never complained. Every day he woke up before the sun, carried his farming tools, and walked to his small field outside the village. There he spent hours under the warm African sun, planting crops, watering the soil, and doing everything he could to provide a better life for his family. His wife was a kind and loyal woman. She always supported him with a warm smile and encouraging words. While he worked in the fields, she stayed in the village, preparing food, fetching water from the well, and helping neighbors when they needed it. Many people admired her gentle heart and respectful nature. In the evenings, when the sun turned the sky golden and orange, the man would return home tired but grateful. His wife would welcome him with food and a smile. They would sit outside their small hut, talking about their day while the cool evening breeze moved through the trees. Their life was not rich with money, but it was rich with peace, love, and respect. The villagers often said that the two of them were an example of a strong and happy marriage. However, no one in the village knew that one decision in the future would soon change everything. For him, and always stood by his side through every hardship. In the quiet African village where they lived, people often noticed how loyal and kind she was. She believed that a strong marriage was built on patience, respect, and support, and she lived by those values every day. Every morning before the sun rose, she would wake up early to prepare food for her husband before he left for the fields. She carefully packed a small meal for him so he would not feel hungry while working under the hot sun. Even though their life was simple and sometimes difficult, she never complained about the hard work. When the farming season was tough and the crops did not grow well, she encouraged her husband with hopeful words. She would tell him not to lose faith and remind him that better days would come. Her gentle voice and positive spirit often gave him the strength to continue working even when he felt tired and discouraged. She also worked very hard in the village. She fetched water from the distant well, cooked meals, cleaned their small clay hut, and sometimes helped neighbors who were sick or struggling. Many villagers respected her because she treated everyone with kindness and humility. In the evenings, when her husband returned home exhausted from the fields, she welcomed him warmly. She listened carefully to his worries and shared his burdens as if they were her own. Her support made their small home feel peaceful and safe. To the people in the village, she was more than just a wife. She was a symbol of loyalty, patience, and love. No matter how difficult life became, she believed in standing beside her husband and protecting their marriage with honesty and care. One day, the man decided to travel to a nearby town for work. Life in the village had become a little difficult, and the crops from his small farm were not enough to support his family. Like many other men in the village, he believed that going to the town might help him earn some extra money and bring a better life to his home. Early in the morning, before the sun fully rose over the tall trees of the village, he prepared for his journey. The air was cool, and the dusty village path was still quiet. His wife woke up early to prepare food for him to take on the road. She wrapped some bread and cooked vegetables in a small cloth and handed it to him with a caring smile. Before leaving, he stood outside their small clay hut and looked around the peaceful village he had known all his life. Children were slowly waking up, and a few villagers were already starting their morning work. His wife stood beside him, wishing him a safe journey and hoping he would return soon. The road to the town was long and dusty. As he walked along the path, he passed fields, tall trees, and small streams. Occasionally, he met other travelers heading toward the same town, each one searching for work or opportunity. The town was very different from the quiet village. It was busy, full of people, markets, and loud voices. Traders sold colorful clothes, fruits, and handmade goods. The man felt both excited and nervous because everything looked new and unfamiliar. At that moment, he did not know that this simple trip to the town would soon change the direction of his life and bring unexpected challenges to his peaceful marriage. The busy town, the man spent his first few days looking for work and trying to understand the new environment around him. The town was full of people, colorful markets, and loud voices. Traders called out to customers, children ran through the streets, and the smell of fresh food filled the air. Everything felt very different from the quiet and simple life of his village. One afternoon, while walking through the crowded marketplace, something unexpected happened. Among the many people moving around the market, he noticed a beautiful woman standing near a small stall. She was wearing bright traditional African clothes that caught the sunlight, and her confident smile made her stand out from the crowd. The man could not help but look at her again. There was something about her presence that quickly caught his attention. She seemed friendly and cheerful, and she spoke to the people around her with ease and confidence. Unlike the calm and quiet nature of his village, the woman appeared lively and full of energy. After a short moment, their eyes met, and she greeted him with a polite smile. They began to talk casually, first about the market and then about where they came from. The conversation felt easy and natural. The woman asked him about his village, his work, and the reason he had come to the town. As the conversation continued, the man found himself more interested in her than he expected. Her words and charms slowly made him forget the simple life he had left behind in the village. At that moment, he did not realize that this meeting would slowly lead him toward a decision that would later bring regret and pain into his life. As the days passed, the man continued visiting the town for work, and each time he found himself meeting the woman again. What started as a simple conversation slowly turned into something deeper. The woman was friendly, confident, and full of charm. She knew how to speak in a way that made the man feel important and respected. The man began to enjoy the time he spent with her. Whenever he came to the town, he would look forward to seeing her in the busy marketplace. They would talk for hours about life, dreams, and opportunities. Her lively personality was very different from the quiet and simple life he had in the village. Slowly, the man started forgetting the responsibilities waiting for him at home. He rarely thought about how loyal and supportive his first wife had always been. Instead, he allowed himself to become more and more attracted to the new woman he had met in the town. One evening, after spending a long time together, the woman suggested that they could build a life together. She spoke about having a home in the town and living a more comfortable life. Her words made the man imagine a future that seemed exciting and different from his ordinary village life. Without thinking carefully about the consequences, the man made a secret decision. Influenced by her charm and the excitement of something new, he decided to marry her as a second wife. However, he knew that his first wife in the village would never expect such a thing. So he chose to keep the decision hidden. Deep in his heart, he knew it was not honest, but at that moment, he ignored the voice of reason and continued moving toward a choice that would later fill him with regret. After secretly marrying the woman in the town, the man decided to hide the truth from his first wife in the village. At first, he convinced himself that it was the easiest way to avoid problems. He believed that if no one found out, life would continue peacefully. But deep inside, he knew that keeping such a big secret would not be easy. Whenever he returned to the village, he acted as if nothing had changed. His first wife welcomed him warmly every time he came home. She prepared food for him, asked about his work in the town, and listened carefully to his stories. Her kindness and trust made him feel uncomfortable because he knew he was hiding something important from her. Sometimes, when he looked at her honest and caring face, a small feeling of guilt appeared in his heart. But instead of telling the truth, he chose to remain silent. He told himself that revealing the secret would only bring pain and arguments. In the town, however, his life was completely different. He spent time with his second wife and tried to build another life there. He moved between the town and the village, carefully trying to make sure that the two worlds never crossed each other. But secrets are rarely hidden forever. The more he tried to control the situation, the more complicated his life became. He had to remember what he said to each person, where he had been, and when he would return. Slowly, the burden of his secret started to grow heavier on his heart. Even though everything seemed calm on the surface, the truth was quietly waiting for the moment when it would finally be revealed. Time passed. The man continued moving between the town and his quiet village, trying to keep his second marriage hidden. At first, everything seemed under control. He believed that no one knew about his secret life in the town. However, in small villages, news often travels faster than people expect. Some villagers began to notice small changes in his behavior. He was traveling to the town more often than before, and sometimes he stayed away for longer periods. When people asked him simple questions about his trips, his answers sounded uncertain. These small details slowly made a few villagers curious. One day, a traveler who often visited the town came back to the village with surprising news. He mentioned seeing the man walking in the market with a woman who looked very close to him. At first, people did not take the story seriously, but the rumor quietly began spreading from one person to another. In the evenings, villagers gathered under the large trees to talk about daily life, farming, and village matters. During these conversations, the story about the man and the mysterious woman slowly became a common topic. Some people believed it was just a misunderstanding, while others suspected there might be some truth behind it. The whispers slowly grew louder as more people started hearing the same story. Although no one had clear proof, the rumor continued to spread throughout the village like the wind moving through dry leaves. The man did not realize how close the truth was to being discovered. While he tried to protect his secret, the quiet village around him was slowly uncovering the story he had tried so hard to hide. One quiet afternoon in the village, the first wife discovered the painful truth. She had always trusted her husband completely, believing in his honesty and loyalty. But over time, the small changes in his behavior had raised her curiosity. She noticed the longer trips to the town, the distracted looks on his face, and the small secrets he tried to hide. That day, as she was speaking with a neighbor near the well, she overheard a story that made her heart stop. The neighbor mentioned seeing the man in the town with another woman, dressed in bright clothes, walking as if they were husband and wife. At first, she could not believe it. Her mind refused to accept what she had heard. She remembered all the years of love, support, and care she had given him. But the more she thought about it, the more the signs added up. The meals he sometimes skipped, the unusual explanations for his long trips, and the nervous behavior he had shown recently. All of it pointed to the same painful reality. Her heart sank with a heavy weight of sadness and betrayal. She did not shout or cry immediately. Instead, she quietly returned to their small clay hut, sitting alone and thinking about everything. Memories of their life together, the laughter, the hard work, the shared dreams, flashed in her mind. A tear slowly rolled down her cheek as she realized that her husband had hidden such a deep secret from her. Though the pain was sharp, she remained calm and composed. She understood that anger would not solve anything, but the wound in her heart was deep. The trust she had placed in him was broken, and the quiet village suddenly felt different. Little did the man know, the truth was finally out, and the life he had tried to protect would now face the consequences of his actions. When the first wife discovered the truth about her husband's secret marriage, her heart shattered into pieces. The pain of betrayal was sharp, like a thorn digging deep into her soul. She remembered all the years she had stood by him, supporting him through every hardship, helping him with every challenge, and believing in the love they shared. Yet now, all of that seemed ignored, hidden behind his lies. Despite the intense hurt, she did not scream or lash out. Instead, she chose to remain calm and dignified. She knew that losing her composure would not bring clarity or justice. Her strength came from the quiet wisdom she had learned from her elders and from the challenges she had faced throughout her life. She understood that true dignity meant facing hardship with courage, even when her heart was bleeding. She spent the morning alone, sitting outside their small clay hut, gazing at the dusty village path and the golden sunlight filtering through the trees. The birds sang as if unaware of human sorrow, and the village children played nearby, innocent and joyful. The contrast of her inner pain and the calmness of nature around her made her reflect deeply on life, love, and trust. She thought about what had led to this moment, the choices her husband had made, and how she had always acted with honesty and loyalty. Her mind wandered through memories of laughter, shared meals, and quiet evenings together. Each memory brought both warmth and sorrow, reminding her of the love that still existed in her heart, even though it was hurt. By staying composed, she silently sent a powerful message, not of anger, but of strength. She would face the consequences of this betrayal with patience and clarity. Her calm dignity was a shield against the chaos, showing that even in heartbreak, she remained proud and unbroken. Little did her husband know, the quiet strength of his first wife would be far more powerful than any regret he would soon feel. Soon after the secret was discovered, the elders of the village decided to intervene. They were wise and respected men and women who had guided the community for many years. The village believed that when trust and honesty were broken, it was their responsibility to restore balance and teach lessons. So, they called the man to a meeting under the large baobab tree at the center of the village. The man arrived with a heavy heart, knowing that something serious was about to happen. The elders sat in a circle, their faces calm but firm, and the villagers gathered quietly around, curious and tense. The air was still, filled with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant children playing. The elders began asking him questions about his trips to the town, his secret marriage, and why he had hidden the truth from his first wife. At first, the man tried to give small excuses, but the elders' wise eyes saw through his words. They asked him to think about his responsibilities, the trust he had broken, and the pain his actions had caused. They reminded him that a marriage was sacred, and hiding such a serious matter was a betrayal not only to his wife, but to the entire village community. He felt shame creeping into his heart, realizing how deeply he had hurt the woman who had always supported him. Every word of the elders cut through his pride, and he began to see the consequences of his secret decisions. The villagers remained silent, watching the discussion with anticipation, knowing that this moment would teach everyone a lesson about honesty, respect, and responsibility. By the end of the meeting, the man was overwhelmed with regret. The elders had made it clear that he could not undo the pain he had caused, but he could begin to make amends. The wisdom of the village had exposed the truth, showing him that choices made in secrecy and selfishness would never remain hidden forever. After the meeting with the village elders, the man began to truly feel the weight of his actions. For the first time, he saw beyond his own excitement and desires and understood the deep pain he had caused his loyal wife. She had stood by him through every hardship, supported him with love and patience, and trusted him completely. Yet he had betrayed that trust with lies and secrecy. As he walked back to his small clay hut, the dust from the village path rising under his feet, memories of their life together flooded his mind. He remembered her gentle hands preparing meals, the way she smiled when he returned from the fields, and her unwavering encouragement during the hardest seasons. Each memory now carried a sharp sting, reminding him of the innocence and loyalty he had taken for granted. He thought about her heartbreak the day she discovered the truth, her quiet dignity, the tears she had shed alone, and the calm patience she had shown all weighed heavily on his conscience. The man felt shame he had never known before. He realized that his decisions had not only hurt his wife, but also affected the respect he held in the eyes of the entire village. For hours, he sat in silence outside their hut, the evening sun painting the village in shades of gold and orange. The sounds of children playing and villagers talking in the distance seemed distant to him. Inside, a storm of regret and sorrow raged. He wished he could turn back time, to make different choices, to honor the love and loyalty of the woman who had given him everything. In that quiet moment, he understood that happiness cannot be built on lies. True love, trust, and respect were the pillars of life, and he had betrayed them. The pain he had caused was a lesson he would carry forever, a reminder that selfish choices can destroy even the strongest bonds. After secretly marrying the woman in the town, the man had imagined a life full of excitement and comfort. At first, he felt a strange happiness, thinking that he had found something new and thrilling. But as days passed, reality began to reveal itself. Life with the second wife was not as joyful as he had expected. The woman in the town was lively and charming, but their relationship lacked the deep connection he had shared with his first wife. She was not familiar with the quiet patience, loyalty, and understanding that had always defined his home in the village. Small arguments and misunderstandings began to surface, and the simple harmony he had once known now felt distant and impossible. He traveled often between the village and the town, trying to manage both lives, but each journey left him more tired and restless. In the town, the streets were noisy, the markets crowded, and the life he led there lacked the warmth of his village. Even the second wife, despite her charm, could not fill the void of trust, honesty, and care that he had taken for granted at home. Slowly, he began to feel emptiness instead of excitement. The laughter he had imagined was replaced by tension, and the freedom he sought was overshadowed by the burden of keeping secrets. Every moment he spent in the town reminded him of the calm and loving life he had abandoned. In his heart, he realized that no wealth, charm, or novelty could replace the love and loyalty of someone who had stood by him through every hardship. The happiness he had chased with the second wife was only an illusion, and it could never compare to the quiet joy and respect he had lost in the village. This truth began to weigh heavily on him, planting the first seeds of regret that would soon grow into deep sorrow. Heart Day and Night. The excitement and charm of his secret life in the town had faded, replaced by a heavy weight of guilt and sorrow. Every morning, as the sun rose over the village and the golden light touched the clay huts, he felt the sharp reminder of the mistakes he had made. He could not enjoy his meals, nor could he rest properly. Even simple tasks seemed meaningless. Each time he saw his first wife, her quiet strength and dignified composure reminded him of what he had lost. Her eyes, once full of trust and love, now carried a silent sadness that pierced his conscience. He knew that he had caused this pain with his own choices. At night, when the village grew quiet and the stars appeared above the tall trees, he would sit alone outside the hut, thinking of the life he had betrayed. The cool night breeze seemed to whisper reminders of loyalty, honesty, and love, virtues he had neglected. The more he thought about it, the heavier the regret became, pressing on his heart like the weight of the African sun at noon. Even the villagers' subtle glances and whispers reminded him that his secret was no longer hidden. Shame and sorrow intertwined, making him realize that no charm, wealth, or excitement could undo the hurt he had caused. The happiness he had imagined with the second wife was gone, leaving only the bitter truth of his actions. Day and night, his heart ached with regret. Every moment away from the village, every lie he had told, and every secret he had kept returned to him in memories he could not escape. The man began to understand, with painful clarity, that choices made without honesty and loyalty bring nothing but sorrow, and that regret is a burden that follows a person until they face the truth. After many days of sorrow, guilt, and sleepless nights, the man finally realized that he could no longer ignore the pain he had caused. The regret that filled his heart day and night had grown unbearable, and he understood that his only path to peace was to face the truth. With a heavy heart, he decided to ask his first wife for forgiveness. Early one morning, before the sun rose fully over the village, he approached her small clay hut. The air was cool, and the birds were beginning to sing, as if urging him to speak honestly. His first wife noticed his serious expression and waited silently, sensing that something important was about to happen. He knelt before her, his eyes filled with sorrow, and spoke with honesty and humility. He admitted his mistakes, explained the decisions he had made, and expressed his deep regret for hiding the truth and causing her heartbreak. Every word came from the heart, carrying the weight of guilt he had carried for so long. She listened quietly, her calm and dignified presence never wavering. Though the pain in her heart was still strong, she recognized the courage it took for him to admit his wrongs. She saw that he had truly understood the consequences of his actions and was ready to make amends. After a long moment of silence, she forgave him, not immediately, but with a promise to rebuild their trust slowly. The act of asking for forgiveness did not erase the past, but it opened a path toward healing and redemption. This moment became a lesson for the man. Honesty, loyalty, and love are the foundations of happiness, and no charm or desire can replace the trust and respect of someone who has stood by you through every hardship. By facing his mistakes and seeking forgiveness, he began to repair the bond that he had once taken for granted. After asking for forgiveness and beginning the slow process of mending his relationship, the man finally understood the true meaning of life and love. The journey of mistakes, secrets, and regret had taught him lessons no words could fully capture. He realized that happiness was not found in excitement, charm, or novelty, but in honesty, loyalty, and respect, the virtues that had always guided his first wife. He remembered the calm strength of his wife, the patient support she had given him during every hardship, and the quiet dignity with which she faced betrayal. Her unwavering loyalty had been a light in his life, one that he had nearly extinguished with selfish choices. Now he understood that this trust and love were priceless, far more valuable than any fleeting thrill he had chased in the town. As the days passed, he devoted himself to rebuilding their relationship. He worked harder than ever, not just in the fields, but in showing care, respect, and honesty. He listened attentively to his wife, valued her thoughts, and never again allowed secrecy or deceit to take hold in his heart. The villagers noticed the change in him, and many quietly admired the lesson he had learned through struggle and humility. Even his experiences with the second wife became a memory that taught him restraint and the dangers of ignoring loyalty. He shared the story carefully with younger men in the village, emphasizing the importance of honesty and commitment in marriage. Over time, the man felt a true peace he had never known before. Happiness, he realized, was simple but profound. It was found in living a life of integrity, honoring the love of those who trust you, and staying faithful to the promises you make. The mistakes of the past remained, but they became a guide, showing him that a life built on honesty and loyalty is the only life that can truly bring lasting joy.